and shortcomings, we ask that you would help us to be better in our life. I ask you in the name of your Son Jesus that you would allow our golden moments to roll on and roll out, Lord. Father, in the name of your Son Jesus, we come. We need you more now than ever before. We ask that you help our hearts, our minds to be receptive to your will and your way. I ask you to bless us all together. Help us to understand that we need each other more now than ever before. Bless our pastor, his wife. Keep them in your care. Keep your hedge of protection on them, Lord. Help them to continue to word, teach your word, do your word. In the name of your Son, Jesus, we do pray. Let's get on.
Amen. Right there. As we get ready to get started, we're going to be in the book of Genesis 25. We're going to be talking about Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, and Esau. And we're talking about the danger of having family favorites. It's a very difficult time in the life of family when family favorites are issued, signed, seen. We see it all the time in places where individuals say, well, I was mama, daddy, I was uncle, I was pastor, I was deacon's favorite. And then there's behind them to say, well, I was so talk about it inside the context of a family. The affection of their mother or father has a favorite, and the mother has a favorite. And the next thing you know, you have difficulty within inside the house because what does favoritism open up? So it opens up jealousy, envy, strife, greed. It opens up all kinds of sinfulness within inside the confines of the family that does not have to be there. And it's one of the biggest things that causes that divisiveness within the family. Cain can't turn around and kills Abel because God favors Abel's over his. But then you have Adam and Eve who turn around and have Seth, and Seth becomes the favorite, you can say, because he replaces Abel. And we know that we know that Jacob is Rebekah's favorite. We know that Esau is Isaac's favorite. And inside that family, there is tension at all times. But even when you look at the story of Jacob and Esau, before they even came out of their mother's womb, they had issues. Because Jacob would come out after Esau, holding on to Esau's heel. And then God would tell Rebekah that the older would serve the younger. And so Rebekah has favoritism toward Jacob now because she knows that Jacob is going to be the one who is going to be over eventually Esau. And then Isaac looks at Esau as his favorite because Esau is a hunter. Esau brings him fresh meat. Esau feeds him. And then Esau's what? Esau's the firstborn. Usually, when it comes to favoritism, it ends up being the firstborn or it ends up being the baby of the family. the middle child, they just have to go through. And a lot of times when you talk to individuals who were the middle child, they always say that they didn't feel as loved as the first child and the last child because it seemed like all the focus was on the first child and the last child. So the middle child stands in this gap of trying to bid for the father or mother's love because they feel that everybody else is the favorite. When we grew up, we worked hard for my first car, Impala, and my brother worked hard for his car. My sister them worked hard for their car. My baby sister, the last one, upon graduation, they gave her car. We all come home and she got a brand new car that they done brought her. So if it had not been for us being raised in the environment that we was, because none of us were jealous or upset that she got it. Because all of us was just joyous that she was the last one graduated, daddy that was coming. But if we had the wrong frame of mind, then tension could have been in the family because she gets a free car when all of us had to work for a car. So how do you handle favoritism within inside the context of a family? And I throw that out. How do you handle favoritism in the context of a family?
I don't let it bother me. Because on my mama's side, I'm the only child, but on my dad's side, with all my siblings, I'm in the middle.
Okay. And so how
It don't bother. It don't bother me. Gotta slide out of mine. I don't see them. They live in a whole other state. But if they need me, I answer the phone and call them. But my mama, I'm the only child she got.
okay, then so you grew up with just your mother and you.
All of them. But I used to play the part like my mama. I'm the only child. When I go to my daddy's, I gotta share and do all this. So I stay there for like a day. I go home. When I get mad at her, I go to my daddy's.
So it did have an effect on you.
So hey, if I gotta share and do all this, I'm going home.
All right then. Anybody else? Yes.
I'm the middle child. I have two older sisters and two older brothers. So that middle child is kind of the peacemaker, if you will.
Mhm.
So I knew, my sister's point of view because I was old enough to be with them, but then I was younger than them that I understood my brother's point of view. And so I would have to be the peacemaker. Well, when it came time to that and there was issues in the family, it would always be me talking to my mom about it, and then they would say that I'm my mom's favorite. But it wasn't that I was the favorite; it was just that we had a bond because I was the peacemaker between the brothers and the sisters, where it was some things that she couldn't understand about what we were doing, then I had to explain it to her. So and they'll tell me right today, which hurts my feelings when they say that I'm the favorite. It almost makes me cry because I understand that my mother, she didn't have a favorite. She just loves us adequately according to our needs. And I don't think they really got that or see that. So I'm getting to the point where it doesn't bother me anymore because, everybody has their different relationships and you have to understand relationships. And I'm a different child, just like they're a different child. So what she gives to them, she may not have to give to me and vice versa. So I just think it's just a little bit more maturing and understanding just your role in the family dynamic.
So as a middle child, you end up being a peacemaker, and then in the process of possibly, and this is just in the process of possibly being a peacemaker, where she's coming to you when there's situations, and if I'm understanding right, where the situation understanding was the favorite because of the simple fact you have an ear that probably they don't think that they have. And so you have the ability to bring peace in the midst of a situation, but to them, it's a possibility that you say, okay, she's a favorite because whenever something's rising up, she has mama ear over everybody. Anybody else? Huh?
I didn't.
You didn't say it like that?
No, I just said, God, when you say it like that, like she got mama ear over everybody. Go on, babe. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. What y'all know, and that at times could be perceived, and I'm talking about a perception of individuals within inside the household. Because if you're the peacemaker, and I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you, but if you're the peacemaker and mom comes to you or dad comes to you for advice and understanding, another person from the outside may not see you as the peacemaker, as the enemy is here. And so therefore, even though you're not in that position, you end up being a failure.
You're digging a hole.
What I was gonna say, I guess I was my mother's favorite,
Uh-huh.
and I wondered about my dad
Uh-huh.
because he sure used to move me through.
All right.
But it would be like mom would say, "Well, how would you wait till your daddy get home?" I said, "Oh, mom, don't tell dad." I 3 hours. I thought, "Mom, please don't tell dad." Trying to get that clear. Please don't tell dad. But I was just like I said, I knew I was my mom's favorite because for some reason I could call and ask her for anything.
Mhm.
Made no difference. She said, "Okay, I got it. I'll see you later. Come and get it after a while. Something like that." All the rest of them, I know when they're gonna get something. I could sit there and listen to them talk to them, and then I say, "Well, you got this thing. You gonna get this thing." I mean that's the kind of stuff that I could listen to my parents and tell my brothers. I told my oldest brother. He came by the house one day. He said, "Dad, I need $1,500." I said, "Ooh." Dad started talking to him. He said, "Well, he didn't use no frank." All of a sudden you come and show up talking, you need $1,500. I didn't know what's wrong with you. All these words gonna come out. But Daddy just was so smooth. He said, "Boy, every time I look up, I always want something." And he let him have it. Lifting his wallet and gave him $1,500 bill. And I don't know if my brother even ever paid it. But it wasn't on me. I told him, I said, "You get it this time, but you can't get it no more." But like I said, I just knew I was my mom's favorite, because of a lot of things that she did for me.
But is it possible also that as parents, we have the ability to see who needs more and what somebody needs? And so what's called is so as they're saying that there's favorites, you just know who needs more and who's mature, who's immature, who needs more and who doesn't need more. And so you end up catering or giving to each as they have need. But then the individuals are looking at it as you favoring one over the other. When in actuality, all you're doing is knowing who is. I have my daughter Christina. I don't have to worry about her. She's good. My other daughter, Aviana, she's gonna be the one who's gonna call and say, "Daddy, can you cash out me this amount and I'll get it back to you." And I'll cash out of that amount. And at first she wouldn't, at first she'd be a little late. And then I had to work with her. And I had to tell her, "Okay, babe, look, you can borrow, but as long as you pay back on the day that you say you're going to pay back, you can turn right back around and tell me, Daddy, I need that." I said, "And I have no problem. Just make sure that when you say something, you honor what you were going to say." And so now she'll call and she'll ask for something, and she will make sure that she pays me back on the day that she says she's going to pay me back. She'll pay me back a couple of days before, whenever she gets a check to pay me back. And then we'll send her and say, Daddy, can I borrow? Yeah, because you pay back. And so much, so it's about us knowing our kids. But when we look at the story of Isaac and Rebecca, Rebecca had some information that Isaac didn't have. Because God had already told Rebecca about what was going to happen with Jacob. And Isaac was looking at him from the standpoint of, this is the man who's bringing me food. He's my firstborn male son too. And back then, a male child that was pride and joy. You can have a girl as a firstborn male child, and it did not until you had a male child. For a male child, you still wasn't satisfied. Hmm?
Yes, I never was.
Well, what y'all? Well, but their standards were different. When you go over to some countries now, the male has more value. When we went over to Dubai, the male had more value. So there are just places in which they have such a dominance as far as males are concerned. And if you can ask every man when they had their first boy, it was like, yeah. Because what happens with the first boy? Your name carries on. Your name carries on. You can have a daughter, but when she gets married, well then it's assumed back then she would take on whoever her husband's name was. Now we have it where a person will keep their own name and then put asterisk and then hyphen and then put the husband's name at the end, such and such such. But back then, whatever your husband's name was, that was your name. And so so some lineages ended based on the fact that there was nobody else to carry on the name. When you look at the story of Abram and Sarah, there was nobody who was born. Abram's old. He's supposed to not be able to have kids now. But before that happens, Sarah gets him to marry Hagar so that he can have a son and carry on the name. And then God has to tell him, but that's not the child of promise. And then he turns around and has Isaac. Then Isaac marries Rebekah, and they have two sons, a set of twins, Esau and Jacob. And that's where we're at now. If somebody will read Genesis 25, 24 to 28.
Genesis 25, 24 through 28. When her time came to give birth, they were indeed twins in her womb. The first one came out red looking, covered with hair like a fur coat, and they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out grasping Esau's heel with his hand, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. When the brothers grew up, Esau became an expert hunter and outdoorsman, but Jacob was a quiet man who stayed at home. Isaac loved Esau because he had a taste for wild game, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
Okay. And so when the time comes, she has two kids. And they say that the commentaries say that he was so hairy that he looked like a little man. Because can you imagine, you have a baby and he has hair all over him. And it's red hair. So he's hairy and he looks like this little man. And then you have him coming out and you have a brother who's grabbing onto the heel. And God is already speaking to Rebekah that there's going to be inside of her two nations. And these two nations that are inside of her, the younger is going to serve the older. Now, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that scenario? The younger serving the older. I mean, the older serving the younger. Sorry about that. The older serving the younger. What's wrong with that? Huh? He's supposed to look out for the. He's the one. He's the one looking supposed to look out for the family. He is the one who is supposed to inherit a double portion of everything. He's the one who's supposed to inherit their blessing. It's his responsibility to watch out for the family. But we're gonna find him flipping and giving his stuff over to the younger brother. So when you look at situations in which you have a middle child or a younger child, it's not uncommon to see that they end up flipping, and the older ends up not being the dominant of the family. I know our family. I don't mind being transparent about our family. I have an older brother, but I go, care for him. But even prior to that, everybody was already looking at me as being uh, the one that would guide the family if anything happened to my mother and father. When my father died, before he died, he told my sister them, now Alton is the one that y'all will have to listen to and seek for advice because I'm about to leave. And so it's not unusual for a younger person to take over, but in those days, the older was supposed to be the dominant. They had double portion of everything. They were the one that was going to be blessed by the father. They were going to be the one that was going to lead, guide, and direct the family. But when you look at God, still God did that on numerous occasions. That it wasn't the older, it was actually the younger one that ended up guiding and assisting and caring for the family. Is there a problem with that? What problem would you see in that? Is there a problem with the younger being the one to guide the family?
It's not a problem if they're mature enough. I think the problem will come on the older person thinking just because they're older that they should be in charge, and that creates that risk. Because most older children feel like they're entitled just because of age, but age has nothing to do with your mindset.
Okay, so there's a deal of entitlement that the older believes that because I'm older, everybody should listen to me. But at times it doesn't work like that. The younger will end up doing when, and like I say, I'll be transparent about our family. When my father passed, he told my sister them, y'all need to listen to Alton. Alton is the one who's now going to take my place. He has the wisdom and all this. But when it came down to the execution of the will, he did the baby. He put Christine over everything. Now I could have been, well, I'm the oldest. I don't know why he didn't put me. He should have put me. He should have put me over. I could have did all of that. But for his reasons, he selected my younger sister to be. And then as time went on, we come to find out why. Because as we were, when all of us had left the home, there were some conversations that him and my mother had with her about their finances and the house and everything else that he didn't have with us as we were growing up. And so when he got ready to leave here, he knew that he knew that Tamika He knew that Tamiko had all the knowledge of where the bank accounts was, where the insurance papers was, where everything was, in places that we didn't know about. We didn't know about all of his VA stuff, but Tamiko knew about it. We didn't know about insurance policies that they took out on us when we was little, but Tamiko knew about it. He shared with one of us about the insurance policy to where he was he shared with one of us and they went and cashed it in. So he knew his kids and he knew who had the information and who would mind it. Now, as we go through this process of the house and everything else, they look to me for the wisdom part of it, the business part of it, and all of that. And we've been having a lovely time because I've seen some families that have, when the parents pass, it's terrible. But you have to be able to recognize and realize where God has you in His plans within inside the confines of the family. Jacob is the youngest, but he's slated to take over and become Israel. And the 12 tribes will come through him. They're not going to come through Esau. But then the father, looking at Esau as the oldest, Esau is a sportsman. Esau has everything that a person's attribute for a male back then was. And so he would assume that Esau would be the one. Where else in the Bible is there someone like that? Give us a king. And they choose Saul because Saul is above everybody. He's muscular. He looks like everything that a man should be. And so they say, we want him. Then when God gets ready to remove his spirit from off of Saul and name the next king, and he sends him to Jesse's house, they bring out every one of Jesse's tall, fine, beautiful, beautiful sons. And God says, no, none of them. Finally, Samuel has to say, do you have any more? And he said, yeah, it's a little ruddy one out there. And that's who God selects. God selects people that we wouldn't expect for him to select and put them in positions that we wouldn't expect for him to put them in, and then allow them to go through tribulations that we wouldn't expect for them to make it through so that he can grow them up into who they need to be. Comments. So in 26, after this, the boys came out grasping, the brother came out grasping Esau's heel with his hand. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 6 years old when they were born. Ain't it amazing that all of them from Abram on, I mean, they were having kids when they were old. And I ain't talking about no 5 or 6 years. I'm talking about they firstborn children were being born when they were old. Yes, 60 back then because everybody should be 77. You were lucky. Diseases and everything else that was out there. It wasn't no medicine that you, not like now. The only medicine you had was the name of God. And you still had to know because it was one in which if you weren't circumcised by the 8th day, you were supposed to die. And that was a law. So to be past 70, that was a blessing. And you had Abraham there, who were 90 back then. They were living long because of what? They were replenishing the earth. No of them had gone on. The earth is needed to be replenished, and people are living longer. So you have a kid at the age of 60. It wasn't nothing. Now, Abram, when he got 90, that was nobody but God. Huh?
You ain't nobody.
Yeah, yeah, true. Because of these bodies that we have. But Abram was able to have a child based upon God. And now you have Isaac who has Esau and Jacob. And you have the younger that is going to become the more dominant. But the younger becomes the more dominant through trickery. God has already let the mama know that the older is going to serve the younger. And yet still the mama participates in trickery also. She's the one who told him, let's make your daddy stew. Let's put some hair on you, and you go in there and you get your brother's blessing. And God has already said that the older is going to serve the younger. When you have to be deceitful in what you do, God ain't in that. Because what ends up happening later on, Jacob ends up having to work all them years just for his wife because his mama sent him to her brother, and her brother was a better deceiver and trickster than the mama did was. He in there think he done married one person and he done married somebody else, Leah. Then I'm gonna give it to you, but you're gonna have to work for her also. So when we begin to be deceitful, when we begin to use trickery, when we begin to use favoritism and stuff, we're not operating in the will of God. But what does God do? God takes all of that and turns it for his good. It's not that he wanted to do it working like that, but he's going to work it to where it turns out the way that he wants it to work out. And it may be some heartache and it may be some pain behind what you have to go through. A Messiah was promised to Israel that the whole nation would be blessed. Israel ends up having to go into 70 years of captivity because of disobedience to God, but yet still the Messiah still has to come through them. And the Messiah comes through them. And then the very individuals who treated Israel harshly are punished by God, and God allowed them to be over Israel. All we can do is try to live right in the best life that we can, and live the best way that we can, and live as righteous as we can. Because when you step outside of that, you open up the doors to some things that you most likely don't want. You could have been further down the road if you hadn't done this. Comments, questions?
You just reap what you sow.
Yeah, you read what you saw. And that's a hard one for people to grasp hold of. But you do reap what you sow. And it may not come when you think it is, but it's coming. Some people will see and be like, oh man, that came on me because look. They was talking about all the stuff that's going on in the world right now politically. And there's gonna be a reaping day. God's gonna allow a reaping day to happen. And when that reaping day comes, But right now, it's like what's the name? The representative Jasmine. She said, as far as after America, we done went through everything. You can't come up. You can't do nothing to break us down because we done been through everything and survived. And every time you think that you're doing something to hurt us, you find out we done took it. Take the stuff that nobody else would ever eat. We ate. Put some seasoning on it and made it work. To where now it's a delicatessen in Anglo's houses. Anglo's didn't know nothing about no oxtail, chitlins, and all that. Now they know. Yeah. And look forward to it. Yes, all of that. Because we learned to survive. And because we learned to survive, you just can't do anything to discourage us or hurt us because we know that in the end we're going to make it through. Because God has made us like that. And the sad part about this is that other people will suffer while trying to make us suffer. All right? So look at 27. When the boys grew up, Esau became an expert hunter and outdoorsman, but Jacob was a quiet man who stayed at home. Isaac loved Esau because he had a taste for wild game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So Jacob, get this, Jacob is sitting around with the mama. The mama knows everything the daddy likes, knows everything about the daddy, but Isaac is just concerned about the Esau and the loving and the meal and everything else. So Jacob is sitting with his mama, and his mama knows what her husband likes. And she's raising her son up because he's the favorite and gonna make sure that he gets everything. It's sad when mother and father are divided against each other inside the house. It's a sad thing. And then we're gonna see later on that she starts working against her own husband because of what she knows that God said, but God didn't say do it like she did. And then Isaac ain't without sin himself. Because even though the firstborn was responsible for getting everything, he favored him. He looked forward to Isaac coming into the room. Isaac was the one Esau coming in the room. Esau was the one who fed Isaac. That's how Jacob ends up being able to trick him. When a house is divided, mother and father against one another, just as the mother and the father pick and choose, the kids will eventually begin to pick and choose. And then you have strife, not only in the house, but you have strife between kid and parent. Kid wants to go to the mother and father done separated. Kid wants to go to the house with the father and the mother. No, you can't go over there. I start speaking harshly about the father and telling to where the kid doesn't want to. And next thing you know, the kid doesn't want to. I have some kind of resentment toward the father. And the father probably been doing everything they're supposed to do. Paying child support on time, wanting to see the kid, but the mother won't allow them to see the kid, and then just tell the kid your father wouldn't show up. And all of us know and heard the stories. of how parents have turned kids against other parents in the pursuit of wanting to be the favorite in the kid's eye. I tell the kid they're the favorite. Nothing worse than two people living in the same house and have different agendas. Different. You my favorite son, and you my favorite son. Because what ends up happening? What ends up happening if you have strife among the parents? There's division among the parents, but what happens with the kid?
They call it trauma now.
Yeah.
They're traumatized. Then the kids will have resentment towards the parents too.
The kids will have resentment toward the parents, but the kids also will have resentment toward one another.
Then more than likely they'll raise up and they'll say it again in their house.
Yes. It's generational. So daddy favored daddy favored the firstborn, so I favored firstborn. Daddy put into, so I with him. I just as Babe was talking about. You have that strife with one parent. Kids not liking, well, I don't like mom. Well, you need to instead of taking care of that and making him see tomorrow. Well, you need to respect him. You may not like him, but you need to at least respect him. And words of that to where they don't lose their standing with the kid, and the kid grows up resenting the parent. To where that parent can't get him to do nothing, but the other parent can also get him to do something. And that's when it's hard. If you're somebody living in the house and one parent can't get him to do something, and the other parent has to step in order to get him to do something, it's an issue.
I kind of faced that last night. My daughter that got killed, 3 kids, 3 girls. So my son, and they called me, we were talking on the phone.
Uh-huh.
Well, their grandmother wasn't there to be on the phone. So I refused to talk about her to them.
Yeah.
So I just told them in conclusion is that remember the heart that your mom had and make your decisions out of her heart.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to talk about nobody that's not here. So, because, I mean, if it's a team, if it's a church, if it's a family, if you allow that division to come in, is in.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is have everybody there.
Yeah.
That's going to have a part in what's saying, our decision
Yeah.
So Rebecca is taking Jacob aside. She's not talking in front of Isaac. And so she's practicing.
She's practicing. And then what's got it? And it ain't no telling what kind of conversation Isaac and Esau are having while he's feeding him. And it doesn't have to be just that. It does not have to be that I'm talking about. Boy, I just love you. You just bring me so much food. I just love. And you can talk about an individual and talk them up so much that they believe that they're better than the other people. But eventually, strife is going to come. Let's look at 11 to 13. Somebody read 27, 11 to 13.
And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will fear me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver. And I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice and go and fetch me them.
Now this is when Jacob is supposed to deceive his father. And Jacob is nervous because he's like, man, if I do this, back then they truly believed that you had the ability, if you curse somebody, if a father cursed his son, he was cursed. If a father blessed his son, he was blessed. When you look at the story of Noah, and Noah has Ham, and Ham tries to get the brothers to look on him, and he curses Ham. They believe we the descendants of Ham, so we still cursed. You know, I don't know about all that, but that's them. But they truly believe when God said, "I will bless those who bless you and curse them that curse you." They truly believe that. That's going over in Israel and the United States being on Israel's side. It's about the blessing that God said, "I will bless those who bless you." So the United States say, as long as we stay on Israel's side, we'll be blessed. Now you have what's going on now. You have the evangelicals that came in, and they talking to Trump them. And now Trump is saying, okay, they need to give us Gaza, and we'll kick all the Palestinians out. And Saudi Arabia and all the rest of them are saying, no, y'all ain't finna come over here and do all that. But Israel's president said today that that's probably a really good idea that Trump has, and that he will most likely support if they come over, if the United States come over to Gaza and they supervise Gaza, and then all the Palestinians have to leave, because that's all Israel want anyway. All the Palestinians have that, and when that happens, you finna have a war like you ain't never had before. Because all of those countries over there are ready to rise up. Because they say, yeah, now y'all ain't gonna come over and do all that. I don't care how many bombs you have and what weapons you have. Y'all not gonna come over and do that. But all of it is based on evangelical biblical point of view that Israel, those countries that are with Israel, that bless Israel, will also be blessed. And those countries that curse Israel will always be cursed. As a father, this is something about I was saying about my father. When he got ready to leave this earth, he told them, okay, Alton is that's the head. He's the one y'all got to go through. He has the wisdom. And so many men, when they get ready to leave, and they were the patriarchs of the family, will pass that on to one of their children. And the other ones may not agree with it, but it was passed on. And especially back in our days, when we were growing up, we had the patriarch and the monarch. That person that was over the whole family, that one female that was over the whole family that everybody had to listen to. Yeah, yeah. We knew who it was. We could identify. And when she got ready to leave here, there may be a fight for her position, but people knew who it was, but some people just wouldn't accept it because they wasn't going to be the one, and they would fight against that position. But eventually, that person would eventually rise up. Now, what's going on now is because there's so much disrespect that these younger people will not respect that position because they want to. But they're cursed and don't know that they're cursed. They trying to figure out why stuff in their life will not go right. It's because your life is cursed. And until you come into alignment with God, your life will still remain cursed. Because if you accept Jesus as Lord and Savior, Jesus will work that thing out to where you have the ability to humble yourself and come into alignment. But you trying to figure out why stuff going wrong in your life. And then here's some things get so deep, they turn around and call the one who's supposed to be the monarch of the family and talk to them about their problems. And then when everything's straightened out, they go back to not recognizing the person. That's the generation we have growing up now. But then you'll have others who recognize the monarch, are the patriarch of the family, and will not fight, will not buck them, will not call, they'll call them. And then they get wise counsel. No, we're not finna talk about so and so, what y'all looking at. And you may not think that but they listening to that. They said, okay, well that's different. Because when I call so and so, shoot, we can talk about everybody. Because what does that tell them? When it comes to my business, well, then we ain't gonna talk about my business unless I'm in it. And so that's the patriarch. So Isaac passed along the blessing to be patriarch to Esau. God wants Jacob to be the patriarch. And so there's dispute in the house between the mama and the daddy. But the one brother has already shown himself. You remember when Esau got hungry and gave up his birthright? God said he'll give away everything he wants. If it comes down to him and something else, he'll give up everything that he got. Yeah, to get what he wants. Now, if he'll give up his birthright just for some stew, what will he do if he gets in trouble? And then even though Jacob's a trickster, Jacob at least knows how to negotiate something to where he comes out on top. And so now so he has the birthright. Now the blessing is up. And the father is the one who's going to extend the blessing. And God acts upon the father's blessing. You remember when Jacob is ready to die. And he tries to bless the older. He tries to bless the older and the younger. And then they crisscross his hands. And then he tries to do it again. And they crisscross his hands on the blessings. Because of simple fact, God blesses who God chooses to bless. And the younger one ends up being the one in those two situations that God ends up blessing. So, that should be out of the favor of God, out of the will of God, if he turns around, because if his father turns around and curses him instead of blessing him. But then look at the mama. If he curses you, don't you worry about it. It's on me. You just go do what I said to do. If a cursing come, I'll take the cursing. But you go ahead and do what I said to do. And the mama now puts the son in a predicament to where he's going to get blessed the way that God would have blessed him. We got person in office. Well, we're going to deal with him because he ain't going to do 4 years. God going to take him out of it. God going to take. And individuals start saying things like, God is gonna take him out. Well, that ain't our deal. All I know is that God is gonna bring us through. I don't want God to have to kill somebody. Thank you. That's God's business. God will deal with that the way God chooses to. God let him do 4 years of terror and then flip the Senate and the House of Representatives to where they do like they do every 2 years and block everything that tries to come down the pipe. Just like what's happening now. You get the next president in there and he spent 3 or 4 days reversing the executive orders that have been written. All we got to do is just go through. Yeah.
Our God do him like he done Saul when he turned to Paul.
Yeah.
We don't know. Trump could be on his road to Damascus too.
It could be. Yeah. We don't know. We don't know what God is doing.
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
Well, but look at this. But look at this. God gave Israel 70 years of captivity. He said, y'all move so far away from me, I tell you what, I'm not going to even remove. You can't even grace your way. You can't pray your way out of this. Y'all are going into 70 years of captivity. I don't care how many oxen y'all sacrifice. I don't care how many prayers y'all throw up. Y'all are going into 70 years of captivity. But he gave them a way out. He said, you will not go into 71. You'll go into 70. You may have to do 4, but you won't have to do 5.
Then later on, they went into 400.
400 years. But it was the quietness of God. God stopped speaking from Malachi all the way up to Matthew. Now, a whole bunch of other people said God was speaking. That's where the Apocrypha came from. God has a way of getting us to where he needs for us to be. And it does not matter. Well, I won't say it does not matter what we try to do. It's just that we can delay what God is trying to do. We have some serious doctrinal issues and stuff going on now. Any individual can pick up a iPhone, put it on themselves, and tell whatever lie doctrine they want to, and there will be somebody who follows him. They got the Proud Boys, and he's out and he's talking about. So let's get out. What was the first thing he said? He said, "I'm going to give everything." Thank you, Donald Trump. He said, "Vengeance is coming your way." This morning, a judge took the name Proud Boy from them and gave it to the church that they vandalized and took that Black Lives Matter sign off. So now for every dollar that comes in off of the Proud Boy trademark, it has to go to that church. The Proud Boy's leader or nobody else can use that name without that church's permission. That's why I say we don't have to do nothing. God will take care of what needs to be taken care of. Trump has signed some executive orders, and some judges have already blocked some of the main things that he wanted to do. That's why all you hear about them is shipping people to Colombia, El Salvador. He has them where they're shipping United States citizens to Guantanamo Bay. They had the first set of U.S. citizens go to Guantanamo Bay today.
U.S. citizens?
U.S. citizens.
What do you mean?
They'll send in U.S. citizens who they believe are
problem or like cause
Yeah.
problems, or like felonies and all of
Like, but of the Hispanic or Latino.
U.S. citizens.
It could be
All
anybody.
I mean, because it
Any-
could be white,
it could,
black.
yes, it could be any of them.
Anybody. Yeah.
How does that happen?
Like if you like.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
Yes. Because one guy was saying, he said what Trump is doing, he is pushing the limits on all constitutions just to see what he can get away with. And how much he's allowed to get away with. That's what he's doing right now. He's trying to see how much he can get away with. So he takes some U.S. citizens and send them over to Guantanamo Bay. But then he's already made an agreement with El Salvador that they can come to El Salvador. So they're going to send them to El Salvador. They're going to start sending criminals to other countries. Come on, man.
Oh my God.
And he's pushing that to see who will. So if you have a loved one who is locked up and you don't hear from them for a while, you better check on them because they could be in another country. And so it's yeah. But just like this right here, God is still in control. Because this is this. His mother said to him, "Your curse will be on me, my son. Just obey me and go get them for me." Trump's listening to other people, Elon Musk, the evangelicals, and all that. But God has the final word. This is that be steadfast and immovable, always abounding in the works of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. We just came from a conference. I'm talking to pastors from every one of them believe that this is how God is going to bring the church back to church. That it is going to get so bad out there that individuals are going to turn back to God. Patriots, all that's going to come back because of simple fact, it's going to get that bad. All Trump is doing is pushing the limits right now just to see how much he can get away with, how far he can get away with. I think they said the Supreme Court just finally turned down. It was one thing that he was trying to do. I cannot remember what it was. The U.S. Supreme Court finally said, "No, that's just too far," and I can't remember what it was. Flashing executive orders, and then he has a Senate and a House that majority are. Yes. And so he has 2 years that he can do he can basically do whatever he wants to until the next election. And then watch out if they don't vote him in. Right now he's trying to get it to where he can run a third term. And watch out, and usually Fox News and all that, you better be watching you some Fox News and stuff now. Fox and Friends and stuff, because if you want to know what he's doing, you better get you a copy of that Project 25. Because if you want to know what he's doing everything's in that playbook. He told everybody he wasn't done using it, and now that's the very same thing that he's using. Biden. What's called Pastor Jemison, me and Baby was saying yesterday. And he said, it's game time. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. It's game time. It's time for people to come together because they got a plan. And what's called and if the people of God don't wake up, Because it's not on the unsaved. He said, if my people. It ain't on the person who don't know him. It's on the people who know him. If my people who are called by my name will humble and pray. Yeah.
We the light of the world.
And seek his face and turn from, but we can't be up under a bushel.
Exactly.
We can't be up under a bushel. Just as Martin Luther King wrote to those clergy, white clergy, you can't say you with God and see all this injustice going on and not say nothing.
That's right.
You gotta say something. We was up in Baylor. Me and my wife was up there. Pastor Jemison was speaking, and we had a room full of diverse. That last day Tuesday, diverse people, and they were clapping and cheering. And I said, "Ain't this something? We up here at Baylor. Baylor's Trump's university. Baylor loved Trump, and we're here." And you have these kids that are clapping. You have a woman who is the president over the university. First woman president over, never had one before. She's the first female president over 100 years. God is still in control. As long as we allow him to be God. I don't pray that Trump dies and all that right there. No. I pray that the Lord changes his heart and changes his mind and places him around some people. Because you don't see him coming out with a spiritual advisor group like he did last time. Last time he had a spiritual advisor group, I ain't seen one this time.
Well, he had that one female bishop that came to his breakfast.
Oh,
And she put him on blast.
she put him on blast, but he was hot. He was actually trying to find a way to have her arrested. He wanted to have her arrested and wanted to have her deported from the United States.
Female.
Yeah, because she was telling him in front of him, and then they tried to get have her words rebuked and stricken from the deal. And for a minute, they were scared for her because the Trump people do it. But she still stood her ground. Yeah. All right there. Brother Stewart, if you come pray us out. We just want to make sure, not this Thursday, the following Thursday, Sister Scruggs will be having her going home. We'll be having her celebration. Uh-huh. Yeah. So we'll be having her ongoing celebration that Thursday. And then what Judy, I don't know if we can get the choir. If we can get some of the choir. I'm not sure. I'll get with Sister Kim.
But I'm thinking that they get a program, and I'm thinking she said she's only got one other person singing.
Okay.
So I've been kind of hip a little bit.
Okay. Then.
And I don't know if the choir is going to get sing.
Okay. Then. Well, I'll give her a call. I'll give her a call tonight and talk to her. Now, what about Yeah, I'm gonna ask. Yeah.
We spoke to her, she's a member.
Yeah. So what y'all? So I was gonna have to get with her and see if she was gonna want to do that. So we got the repass. Okay. So Sister Gross. All right.
We already done discussed everything.
Okay then. And so what y'all? So we got that, and then I'll get with her today to see if they will release let the choir choir sing at least one song.
I'm kind of thinking that Jean had already got a program out.
Well, I'll still ask her. Because what she was remembering her. Still ask the choir to sing.
Give it unto God, Pastor Blakely. Thank you for a beautiful lesson this afternoon. I pray this afternoon that the Lord continue to bless this church. Our Father in heaven, we come this afternoon with the head bowed. Father, thanking you for another blessing. Father, continue to watch over this pastor. Continue to bless this church. Remember the Scruggs family, Father, in a time like this. Father, I pray that you strengthen the entire family at a time like this. Father, bless these who truthfully have came out to uphold your holy name. Continue to keep us each and every day of our life. Time is drawing up on us each and every day. If it ever was a time, Father, we need you, is right now while the blood is still running on my veins. Father, every time we come through that door, Father, it's a blessing to us and to you. Remember our children this evening, Father. They're going astray one by one, Father. But if you put your hand on them and touch it and lead them and guide them, Father, I believe you can guide them back. You the only one can guide. When it's all said and done, Father, give us a home somewhere around your kingdom. We praise your name for help. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
All right.